Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. So it's Cam here from the Aquarium Project, back at it. And I thought today I wanted to talk about something that gets raised quite a lot and is one of the more common questions, particularly for the beginners. So yeah, I thought I'd just take a moment to kind of dive a little bit deeper into it. We're going to do what we usually do, which is I'm just going to walk around and show you guys the fish while I talk over it, because it's basically a bit more fun, I guess, than just watching me talk. So yeah, I mean, today's you'll be able to tell from the episodes or the video's title and all that thing. Obviously, is what's the deal with water changes? What's going on there? It's particularly for beginners in that. It's one of the more difficult portions of the hobby to get your head around. And it's one that there's a lot of misinformation out there about. So I thought I'd kind of give you a little bit of a basic overview of the topic, so you can not necessarily know what to do, but be a little bit more equipped to handle some of the things that can come up in the space. So basically, what I mean by a water change is, so for example, if this is my tank here, what I mean by water change is like I'd take the water down to like a third to a half, somewhere in that region, drain out a third to a half of the water, and then fill it up with fresh water using something like a Seachem Prime and API stress coat, something like that to sort of neutralize or I use the word kill the chlorine and such out of the tap water. A lot of people recommend using like the Seachem Stability or Nutrifin Cycle or those kind of artificial bacteria in a bottle products. But I definitely wouldn't worry about that. That's a bit more of a gimmicky moneymaker, I think, than anything else. You're not gonna need that. I have a video about that topic. I'll link in the upper right hand corner if you guys want to find out some more thoughts about that. But yeah, that's basically what you need. But so the question oftentimes is, how do I know when to do it? When do I do it? What do I do? All this kind of thing. So the kind of the rule, or not rule, the idea I use to kind of describe it to people is, when you first set up your tank, and once the cycle's settled down and everything like that, what you'll want to do is every week, or maybe a couple times a week, depends on how into it you are, take your test kit, because I recommend everyone has a test kit. Take your test kit and you want to get your ammonia test. No, you don't. What am I talking about? You want to get your nitrate test, and do a nitrate test and see where that sits and how fast your nitrates are increasing. And what you want to do is kind of find the balance of your water changes in that, where what you do is every week you do your water change, or every time you do your water change, your nitrates are getting up, and then you do a water change and brings it back down. And the general idea is, overall, you want to keep the nitrates below, at least below 40 parts per million, as a general rule. I try to keep them below 20 parts per million. That's just because I kind of enjoy water changes. For me, obviously, having a lot more practice in the space, it's not as big a thing, but obviously the lower the better, may as well. But for the average Joe hobbyist, I'd say you want to keep it, just make sure it's below 40 parts per million, and that's the main thing. So the real sort of tricky part about it is, for some tanks, actually we'll go back here, sorry. For this tank, for example, I do a water change maybe like every second or third day. I do about 80%, because like I feed this tank quite heavily. I got a lot of big hungry fish in here, who obviously make a lot of waste, which needs to get removed via the water change. So that's what I do there. But then if we go back here towards this tank here, all I do on this tank is maybe like 30% every couple weeks, because it's not as necessary, or not as major to increase, or as fast to increase is probably a better word. So yeah, that's kind of my general thoughts on how to gauge your water change frequency requirements based upon your specific tank, how much waste is getting produced, how fast it's getting produced, all that kind of thing. But the thing that I think is quite important in this space is it's not just for nitrate management. Yes, nitrate management is really key in maintaining good water quality, and is really important, like one of the important reasons to do a water change, but it's not the only one. You'll have a lot of sort of macro and micronutrients in the water, especially if you've got plants, but not necessarily. That's good for the plants and the fish, and that does need to get replenished via the water change. And I think most importantly is the next part, which is a lot of fish will secrete hormones in that into the water, which get removed via the water change. But if you leave them, those hormones sit there, and what you'll find is, number one, they'll grow far slower. Your fish will grow far slower, and number two, their max size they'll kind of top out at a lot smaller of a size than if you were to compare these same fish to ones that had grown up in tanks where there's water changes every few days. So that's kind of the most important part. You will, especially at the moment, see a lot of people on your YouTubes or Facebooks or Instagrams of the world advocating not to do water changes, saying you don't need to, all this kind of thing. I will seldom be very hard no on people, but this is terrible advice. Don't do that. You do need to do your water changes. You'll have much better success and much healthier fish. For a lot of fish, yes, they're not going to die if you keep them without water changes. If you never do a water change, never do anything to sort of keep the water clean, your fish aren't going to necessarily just keel over. But what you're going to find is, if you compare a tank like getting, say, a water change once a week, a 30% water change, so nothing major, but a good water change. If you compare fish in that tank to fish in a tank that hasn't had a water change in 3 years, you'll find the ones in the one that gets the regular water changes are going to be much happier, much more healthy looking, much larger, just generally better fish. Your fish will probably hang on just fine and just like cling on to life basically. But part of our responsibility as fish keepers is to maintain proper water quality and ensure that our fish have a good life. Obviously that's not always possible. Mistakes happen and whatnot, but in my opinion, we have a responsibility to do our very best. And that's all you can ask. Like if a heater explodes or there's a power cut or whatever, it happens. But if you're doing your best, that's the main thing. And that does include for me doing your water changes. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. On a small, like say 70 litre tank, that water change might take you 15 minutes at the most. You can just fill it up with the hose, add your dechlorinator, drain it out the window, and that's easy as. I'm not too hands-on with my water changes. I don't gravel vac really. Like this tank here that we're looking at, I've never gravel vac since it's been set up. It's just got good flow that keeps the mechanical sort of waste moving to keep it out the way. But yeah, that's all that's needed. So yeah, I mean, basic thoughts, but a little bit of a how-to and a what's going on there. If you do have any questions though, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts. It is a topic of contention, but yeah, I mean, there is really no substitute for the water change. So yeah, I mean, that's about it. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.